So without any further ado, I'm going to shift gears right now over to the demo, and I'm going to open up the platform. And as you can see, I'm logged into the system. So it's purely browser based. And here's where you're going to have all of your stuff that you're going to be able to work with from a report perspective. It's a centralized area that everyone can have access to, but you're also going to have your own your own area where you can kind of look at the information, where you have your own area to look at information when we're looking at your own personal area. So for example, if you want to look at reports or save reports and dashboards that are just for you, or whether or not you want to share it within the organization. So we have that capability from a content perspective to be able to see my content versus team content. So you have that ability to share that from that perspective. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new report and just show you how easy it is. So actually, I'm going to start by clicking on new. And instead of a report, I'm actually going to start with a dashboard. So I'm just going to click on new dashboard. And the first thing that's going to kind of come up, it's going to ask me what kind of template that I want. So I'm just going to choose a template that I like. I click on it and I say create. So once I have that, the first thing that's going to be asked is what the source is. So I'm going to go ahead and select the source, which is a package. And I'm going to go ahead and choose my order book, which is what I showed earlier before, and just click on add. And now you're going to see the entire order book that becomes available for usage. Now, inside of each of these folders, we have a variety of information. So I've got all my calendar information. So if I open up my calendar folder, I can see exactly what's there. I can see all the information with regards to calendar. So again, the information shows up that's under that each folder. So again, we've got that for every single area inside of calendar. I've got some additional information if I want to look at things from a relatives perspective. So if I want to look at things with regards to current month last year, current week, last month, and so forth, I can use these dynamic relative times inside of the reporting solution as well. When we start getting into other areas, like contacts or salespeople or items, if I open up the items folder, you're going to see that I have subfolders inside of there where I can open that up and I can see the different information that's there. Now, some of these fields that are here are standard out of the box, like item description and item family, which is also known as item group. But then there are some other ones that are custom with regard to some UDFs, like item category and subcategory and so forth, that this particular environment has set up to be able to report on. So if I wanted to go into those different item categories, I can see all of that information available and be able to select anything that I want. Continuing along from items, again, if I close up there, I could even see some additional information with regards to supply, where I can see some on-hand stuff. I could see some on-hand quantity, on-order quantity, and so forth. Again, this is some of the things that you're getting out of the box that you can be able to report on. Now, we also have our customer folder. So if I open up our customer, we differentiate between ship to and bill to. So if I open up the bill to, again, I've got some subfolders there that makes it really easy for the end user to look at, from a general folder where you're going to have the description of the customer, you're going to have the group that's there, the territory, and so on and so forth. And then again, you can see some additional ones that are here that are specific with regards to some user-defined fields that that they wanted to be able to look at. Closing down on the bill to, again, you've got other ones here, from quotations to orders to delivery. And as I mentioned, for example, when I'm looking at sales credits, I've also got that over there where you can see that I've got things separated from doc information to line information. So that's header versus detail versus some line key figures. So when I'm looking at the doc info, you're looking at things like invoice status or invoice number and invoice date. These are ones that are coming straight out of the box in terms of being able to report on. Some of the most commonly used fields that are there from a sales reporting, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to show what best practices are. And again, giving a starting point rather than having to build this from scratch. If I continue along and looking at the line information, you can start seeing some other additional information that's there, the line number, the line status, the item control account from a GL perspective. Again, some of that information is all there. Additionally, we've got our line key figures, which is all of our metrics that we want to be able to look at. So you can see things like sales and gross sales and net sales and costs and so forth, where we can start bringing and using that into our dashboard. So some things that I can do is I can take something like net sales and I can just drag and drop it right onto the canvas. And again, it's going to give me that information right then and there to be able to look at. Just go full screen now here. So now I can bring in some other metrics like gross profit and just drag and drop it right over to the canvas over here. And again, as you can see, it's giving me the information that I want to see. I can start bringing in some other stuff with regards to discounts if I want. And then finally, I can bring in something like, for example, like maybe like broker commission. I'll just drag and drop that and I can see that information. So again, we're starting to build the dashboard the way we want to be able to see it, but maybe it's not exactly how I want. Maybe I want to have a little bit of formatting. So I could just click maybe on net sales, an example, and I could just change the format so that the format is showing up as a number and I want to abbreviate it. So instead of seeing 459,298,093, I click on abbreviate, and now it's starting to show up as a mini dashboard. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch gears over to a starting dashboard that has the exact same information, but now it's already started to be a little bit formatted. So as you can see, there's some additional things that we kind of brought in here that are basically just simple drag and drops. So if I wanted to bring in information, from my model that I have over here, I have the ability. So I've got bill to salesperson and item category. If I wanted to add something else, for example, I can go into the item folder as an example. I can open up general. And if I wanted to bring in, for argument's sake, I wanted to bring in item classification or item brand for that matter, I can just drag and drop it right onto the canvas. And again, it's going to show me that information and I can position it wherever I want. Have the ability to kind of make it take up the entire screen that I want and so forth, and then have the ability to interact with that. So it's very, very simple from a drag and drop perspective. I can easily go ahead and just click on it if I want. If I don't want to have this, I can just click on it and delete it. And now it's no longer on the actual dashboard. Now, what we've got here in the dashboard is we can really interact with it. So I can go ahead and, as an example, I can see what I have here in terms of information. Maybe I want to focus on fruits and vegetables. So I can just click on fruits and vegetables and notice how my numbers are now changing. I can click on Hawaiian. I can click on, I can just click on anything that's here from sweet potato. So I have that ability to look and click and see what I want to be able to see. Now, when I'm clicking on them, you're actually seeing the salespeople that are showing up are actually getting filtered even further because it's telling me that those are the only salespeople that have, information. So for example, if I click on fruits and vegetables and Hawaiian and sweet plantains, you're going to see that that makes up $301 million. And then I have the ability to pick and choose which salesperson I want. So if I want to click on, for example, Aaliyah, for argument's sake, I can see that the combination of those three categories, looking at just the salesperson of Aaliyah, that accounts for $54.7 million with a $10.7 million of GP. Now, if I want to be able to remove that filter, very easy. I could just control click Aaliyah and it goes away. Or what I could do is I could just click on the filter button that's over here and just click on the minus sign and it'll get rid of all of those filters. And you'll see that we're showing a $459 million net sales. Now, I have the ability to play with it even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some additional information and embellish my my dashboard. So I'm going to go into my line key figures that are over here, and I'm going to take something like gross profit. So the gross profit, I'm just going to drag and drop right onto the canvas. Now, what we're going to see is that $77.9 million that's showing up. But now what I want to do is I want to start bringing it into context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my customers folder, and I'm going to go to my bill to area, open up my general folder, and I've got my bill tos that are here, my customers, and I'm going to drag and drop that right onto the canvas. If I drag and drop that right onto the canvas, it's actually going to show me all of the salespeople that make up that GP, and I can see exactly what's going on across the board. Now, it may not be the perfect display that I want, but again, it's showing me the information. So if I put my mouse over each area, I can actually see exactly, what information that makes up. But I also have the ability to change the visualization. So what I can do is I can change that visualization by just selecting the actual tab that I want to change. And instead of looking at it as a column report, because what it's doing is, depending on the detail that you include on your report, it's going to try and use a form of AI, artificial intelligence, to say, this is the best display that we think that you should be using. but it might not be the one that you want. So what we could do is we could just change that display, and there's a variety of visualizations that are there in terms of ones that are recommended or a bunch of other ones that are here that you could actually choose from. One of my particular favorites is a word cloud. So if I click on word cloud, what's going to happen is it's going to show me all of those customers in a word cloud. And the bigger the font, the more GP that they're making up. But then I also have the ability to pick and choose, for example, a specific salesperson. And then I can see just that person's numbers. Or if I want to see it just for sweet plantains, as an example, I can see exactly what they make up and how much they make up from a GP perspective. So I can see, as an example, Spectrum Foods, in this particular case, is accounting for $2.1 million, for that particular rep. But if I want to see it across the board for sweet plantains and how it's going, I just control click this salesperson, and now I'm seeing it across the board just for sweet plantains and see exactly what's going on. So it really gives me that flexibility in regards to doing it. And you're seeing it from how a user can do things on their own. Now, if I wanted to start bringing things into context, right now we've been looking at it across the board for everything. But if I wanted to bring time into the consideration, what I can really do is I can look at my calendars. And I've got my calendar years and my quarters and stuff like that. But what I'm going to do is, instead of just bringing in my calendars, I'm actually going to create myself a navigation path. So I give myself the ability to have drill through, or drill down, I should say. So I'm going to click on create navigation path, and it's going to ask me now, what do I want to include? Now I'm going to start with something that's very, very simple as an example, where I can just bring in year, I'll bring in quarter, and I'll bring in month. It's just simple drag and drop. But this can be anything. This could be salesperson, customer, item. It doesn't have to be only 3 levels deep. You can go as deep as you want. But again, it's setting up the drill down hierarchy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to call this YQM for year, quarter, month. And then what you're going to see in the top left-hand corner is you're going to see that YQM with that hierarchy that's there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that calendar year, and in combination, I'm actually going to go ahead and grab my net sales. So I'm going to control click, and I'm going to drag and drop it right into the top left-hand quadrant. And I do that, again, it's going to use a form of AI to say, well, this is the best display that we think that you should be looking at. But again, maybe it's not the way you want to see it. So again, you have the ability to click and say, I want to change that to a column bar instead. And now you're looking at it that way. So now I have the ability to put my mouse on 2022 where I can see those numbers. And now I have the ability to right click and be able to drill down. And right now it's going to take me right down to the 4 quarters. And again, I can go right down to the month, because that's the drill down hierarchy that I set. And I have the ability to interact with this dashboard however I want, whether I want to look at a specific customer, whether I want to look at a specific salesperson or a specific item category. I have a variety of ways in terms of how I can look at that. Okay. So right now, what we've done is we've looked at it from the perspective of dashboarding. I can go over here. I can change the name. I can call this my sales dashboard. I can have multiple tabs across, and then I have the ability to then save this, and just say, I want to save this, and just say, save it as a dashboard. I'm going to put it in my content. I'm going to put it over here. I'm just going to call it, my new dashboard. That's there is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to save that. And now it's going to replace the one that's already there. And I'm going to click on OK. And now anytime I come in, this is going to be my starting point for me to be able to play with. I even have the ability to kind of start bringing things. If I don't want to bring things into the dashboard, maybe I want to bring things, with regards to some of the other stuff like territory, I want to bring it up into over here where I have that ability to then pick and choose a specific territory. So it's not affecting the actual dashboard, but again, I can pick and choose what I want. I could say, well, I'd like to see, maybe I want to see Canada and I want to be able to see the United States, and then I do that. And then all my information is going to get filtered and changed accordingly just for those particular territories. And again, showing me who those reps are and so forth. So again, looking at it from a variety of ways. Or if I want, I can just delete that filter altogether and we're back to where we started in terms of our information. Okay. So from a dashboarding perspective, that's some of the things that you can do, but that's not where things stop. We do have, you can really get fancy in regards to some of the things that you can do from the dashboarding. But now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and just change myself into a report. So from a report perspective. So here's an example of a very simple report that I've created. that just gives me a prompt for the item category, where I can actually pick the information that I want to be able to see. So I could say I want fruit and vegetables and I want Hawaiian. I just pick those areas and I just click on OK. So it's a report that's pre-created that's giving me this information. But now I have the ability to just say, OK, I've got this information. It's showing it to me by category, by subcategory, what I have on hand and on order. And now I have the ability to just see here, I want to see chips. I can see the 644. I want to get a little bit more detail. I click on that. It'll launch another report that'll give me more of the details of what that makes up. And I can see that I've got its fruits and vegetables and chips. I can see the item descriptions. And then I have a lot of information that's here. But at any point in time, I can click on edit and I can add in any additional fields that's in the model for me to report on as well. So it really gives you that flexibility to be able to do that. So what I want to be able to show you is how easy it is for you to be able to do that. So if I go back to a report, I'm just going to go back to a new report, which is a blank screen, where it just has nothing. And what I'm going to do is just show you how easy it is to create a report. So I can go into something like sales credits as an example. I can open up my line key figures, and I can go ahead and take net sales. I can take, sales quantity. I can take volume. I can take whatever information that I want, freight as an example, and just drag and drop it right onto the canvas. So again, by me just control clicking and adding them in, I can see that. And if I wanted to see, maybe I wanted to see discounts also, no problem. Just drag and drop it and bring it, and you have that available to you. So now I have the ability to look at this in a variety of ways. So I can open up, let's say, my item master, and I can see all my information that's there. Maybe I want to see it by category. Just drag and drop the category, and now it's breaking it down by category. Maybe I don't want it by category. Maybe I want to see it by, maybe I want to see it by brand instead. I can see that by brand. Maybe I want to do a combination of things. Maybe I want to see it by brand with some salespeople information. So I can take the salesperson and just drag and drop that right next to brand, and I can see things that way. Or I can do it the reverse by taking the salesperson and putting it before the brand. And then having the ability to be able to group things. So I can then click on something like, grouping, and now I'm going to start getting some summaries that are kind of going on in regards to my information of that's here. And once I have that, maybe I don't want to see the information that has no sales employee. So I can click on that and say, you know what, I want to exclude that. So just exclude it. So now I'm starting to see all the salespeople that are there, and I can see what's going on. Now, when I'm looking at this, I can also see the information with regards to the different brands. And if I want to put in some, maybe I want to put in some subtotals. So I can click on the measures that I want by just control clicking and just say summarize, click on default summary. And then you're going to start seeing some of that information that's summarized by salesperson, by item brand. Again, giving you that ability to do whatever you want. You can save this report, schedule it, and look at it however you want, and then receive it. But then keep going back in here and being able to look at this information. Now, keep in mind, this information that's here is always updating. So the next time that you open the information, because we're updating the information on a daily basis, the next day, you're going to get the new information automatically. That's going to come across. Okay. Looking at some of the other examples, for example, we do provide some canned reports that are available. So for example, if I have a report that's here, that's canned, where you can actually pick and choose, maybe you want to pick a specific sales rep, you can pick a specific period. So I'm an example, I'm going to go in here, I'll choose maybe something like, March as an example as my period. Maybe I want to focus in on all reps instead of, or I can pick one specific one. And all I've got to do is just click on finish. And then what's going to happen is it's going to run that report for that information. So it's going to give me the information of what I'm looking at. So I can see what's going on with regards to rep information. I can see what their sales are year to date, what they did last year. I can look at things from the perspective of month to date and see how they're doing against the plan. I've got a variety of ways in terms of how I can look at this and just seeing some of that information. I've got some information with regards to history, just to see how things are going with regards to prior year versus current year against the actual plan. Again, I've got some other information that I make available as well in regards to being able to see all that customer information in terms of what they're doing from a month-to-date perspective. And we're color coding things to be able to see what's doing well and what's not doing well. And again, having the ability to look at that information, not only by month to date, but being able to see that exact same information by year to date as well. So really giving you perspective in terms of what's going on in regards to your customers. Now, we've also have, looking at things from a sales perspective, but we also have the ability to look at information from a financial perspective. So from a financial perspective, you can look at this information, as an example, in a financial manner. So you can start looking at things that are there and being able to see things in a very quick and easy fashion where you've got your balance sheet or you've got information with regards to your P&L and being able to see how things are doing against a plan, against prior year, and being able to look at things in a very easy fashion for whatever period that you want to look at. And then when you're looking at the plan, you can start seeing where you're at from a year-to-date perspective, or you can look at things from a latest estimate, where you can look at where I'm at actually to date versus what's remaining on plan and where I'm going to be if I look at my actual plus my remaining plan, where I'm going to be versus what the entire plan is for the year, as well as what it was last year, giving you some metrics, being able to see that information. And again, being able to have that information right down to the detail, being able to see what's going on at the various areas in terms of that information. So really giving you some insight from a financial perspective. But not only do you have the ability to look at it that way, you also have the ability to look at it from the perspective of creating your own kind of income statement, be able to look at things and be able to see what's going on with regards to your debits, your credits, and your balances. And then if you're looking at an example of marketing expenses, for argument's sake, I can actually click on marketing expenses and then say, I want to just focus on the $70,000 that I have of marketing expenses. So I can just filter on that and say include marketing expenses, and then have the ability to then say, I want to get into more detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my GL, open up my chart of accounts, and I'm going to bring in my GL account code to explode that $70,000 that I'm looking at. And then being able to take it to one further level where I can actually go into the GL transactions and I can say, I want to see the posting date. I want to see the reference 1, reference 2, the memo field. I want to see the cost center, the vendor, and the transaction ID. And I can just drag and drop that right in, and it's going to explode that information out. And I can see all this information. And now I have the ability to say, you know what? I only want to see the stuff that went to the American Express. So I click on American Express, I click on filter, click on include American Express, and then I have the ability at any point in time to say, I want to export this to Excel. So it's really giving you that, full area, whether you're looking at things from an operations perspective, or you want to start seeing things from a financial perspective. It's really giving you an eye-opening area to be able to do things on your own without having to require a third party. Okay. So I'm going to revert back now over to the deck and continue where we left off in regards to talking about that.